Hello everyone! This is Remleiz from 40k Theories, and welcome to this new episode of Adeptus Podcastus. Joining me as always is Tactica Imperialis.
Hello everyone, yes, I've gotten over it, I'm alright, don't worry, I'm fine.
I'm pretty sure you can get a rematch clause in at some point. But anyway, no guest this week because unfortunately our guest actually had to pull out at the very last minute. It happens, so never mind, but hopefully we'll be able to get him back for the next episode, so fingers crossed. So, in the meantime, aside from Tactica still being salty about the loss, I know you said you're over it, but I have to dig the heels in somewhere.
Well, to be fair, I'm not salty about losing, I'm salty about losing on forgetting every single Tau question. Every single one of them, I got them all wrong.
No, you did get one right, you got Peck right.
That was a steal.
That was a steal.
That was a steal.
I know, but it was still a Tau question.
Anyway, if you're completely confused about WTF is going on, go back and watch the last episode of Podcastus, episode 175. You'll understand.
Yes. And yes, there will be another edition of Quizcasters for episode 200, so stay tuned. Hopefully we'll get some other returning guests on there so that everyone can pretty much have a go, so to speak. But anyway, that's in the future. Let's focus on the present. In the news, mostly 10th edition related stuff. Surprise, surprise.
Indeed.
Let's talk about the data cards, shall we?
Yeah, we could do that. So to put this in context, we're recording this on June the 16th. And as of today, at time of recording, you can play Warhammer 40,000 10th edition fully. In that you have the core rules, all the army index cards, and the Minotaur and Field Manual for all of your points. The only thing that's missing at the moment, I think, is some of the expanded, organized play stuff, but the whole core rulebook is available. I don't know if the whole rulebook is, but the core rulebook definitely is.
The core rules at the very least are available, so you can at least play 10th edition.
Indeed.
But I think one of the biggest issues with the data cards people have noticed is, quite frankly, a lot of inconsistencies, to put it mildly. I think one of the biggest ones is the one actually Kirioff, I saw from Kirioff's Twitter, and it's in regards to rhinos. So the regular Space Marine Rhino and the Death Guard Rhino, they have the firing deck rule, but Chaos Rhinos, Thousand Suns Rhinos, World Eaters Rhinos, and Sisters of Silence Rhinos don't.
Oh, that's really dumb.
Yeah, there was also something else regarding Dreadnoughts or something a few people pointed out, Dreadnoughts have this one rule, I don't know what it's off the top of my head, but apparently Blood Angels Dreadnoughts don't have that because they lack the certain keyword, just the regular Dreadnought keyword. They just have Death Company Dreadnought and Librarian Dreadnought, not just Dreadnought or something. I don't know.
Well, I think with the Codex non-compliant armies is they use the Space Marine Index plus their extra units and detachment rules. So I think they've just got the whole Space Marine Codex available, so they can just use the normal Dreadnought.
That would make sense. I don't know if it's I'm just going by third-hand information here, so if I'm wrong, feel free to correct me in the comments.
Yeah, but I mean, having read...
It is a bit weird, though, that, regular Rhinos and Death Guard Rhinos can, we have a firing deck, everyone else doesn't, apparently.
Yeah, there are definitely some inconsistencies, but so I think it's also... I'm not trying to cut them any slack here, they've had ample time to prep, but they've had to rewrite every single army rule from scratch, and it's unsurprising that they've probably had some teething issues. I'd expect those things to be resolved when they get their official codices done. Mind you, some armies probably won't get a codex for about 2 years, so that is a little bit annoying. Having read the rules, something that I noticed that's interesting, Tau battlesuits are vehicles now.
Oh.
Yeah, I was looking them up. Apart from the fact that Farsight doesn't get any benefits from his new suit apart from 2 inches of movement.
Did I at least remember it's a new suit, though?
Well, it's the right picture, if that's what you mean. But no, in terms of its rules, it's just the standard Crisis Battlesuit, except it's got 2 extra inches of movement, and doesn't come with the support systems, but he gets an extra ability, which is actually quite good. But he actually has the vehicle and walker keywords now, which is interesting in terms of, for example, haywire weapons will now be very effective against battlesuits, which makes sense in lore. Just something to note. I haven't read the field manual. I have to admit, they haven't done mega drastic rewrites of a lot of rules. They've just, as they said, streamline. And I worry it's made a few armies a bit boring. Obviously, codices and more detachments and more enhancements and all that will make that easier. But I get the feeling your first few games of 10th will be a bit like your first few games of 8th, where you're going to be feeling out the mechanics and your army's rules are going to be a bit bland until you get your codex.
Yeah, definitely. I know that the Death Watch got nerfed pretty hard recently because they had something stupid like, oh yeah, we can do like 43 mortal wounds for 1 command point, or something stupid like that. I was like, what? And that obviously got nerfed to oblivion pretty much immediately when people found out.
Yeah, obviously.
Because, otherwise I would have actually made, Death Watch, competitive and playable for once. But anyway.
Yeah, who knows?
Hi, Fiora. I know you play Death Watch, so I was directed directly at you.
But yes, I think it's good that they've actually... One thing I do appreciate, and I know this sounds really sad, is that they've not waited for Leviathan to come out, because what they could have done, Leviathan's been on pre-order for a couple of weeks and had the early initial run as well of people getting it early. But what they've done is, rather than have a massive rush of, it's Leviathan launch day, come get all your rules, they've got all the rules out early, meaning that unless you are buying exactly Leviathan, you can play 10th properly right now. And that just helps to mean that there's less of a jarring, right, go out and buy it for players. All the rules are available for free. All the points are available for free. All the rules are available. All the units are available. You can just play the game without spending a single penny. And dumb as it sounds, that's the first time this has happened. So
I think, though, the only reason it did happen is because someone actually leaked all of the rules, beforehand online. So Kane Soldier kind of like, well, do we just ignore that, or do we actually just put the rules out for free?
No, but I think hopefully, as much as we don't like leaks and we don't like hackers and all of that, it hopefully sets them on a positive trend of actually, people quite appreciate getting their rules for free. So let's do that, especially when we're doing a patch that requires rewrites of rules. Getting it all out there for free would actually be really helpful.
Yeah, I agree. Because I remember, for the Specialist games, for example, they actually used to put the rules out for free on the Specialist games website back in the day. So, if you wanted to play things like Necromunda or Inquisitor, you could do so for free. Just download all the rules for free. You just need to buy your models. That's it.
That is very good.
I mean, it didn't have anything in terms of lore, but if you wanted the lore, you buy the book. Which, okay, fair enough trade. If you want to buy something, you get more for your money. If you just want literally just, the core rules, this is how you play, here you go. Off you go.
And I think that is a good thing. It is absolutely a good thing that the rules are just accessible. And it's the same thing with Arcs of Omen. And I think something I really appreciated this year they did with Arcs of Omen that they didn't do with Gathering Storm is Arcs of Omen did not contain a single rule that was for the base game of 40k. It contained the boarding actions rules, which are entirely 10th edition compatible. And it contained lore, but that was actually it. For the base game of 9th edition, there was nothing, which is really, really nice because, if you were buying a book for 9th, it just wouldn't be right, so they didn't do it. And whereas with Psyche Awakening, there was rules and rules and rules and rules and rules that were immediately invalidated, and they all came out in the bloody pandemic anyway, so they were all completely useless because they came out in the bloody pandemic. So, it's progress. Baby steps, but it's progress.
Yeah, a step forward is a step forward, regardless of how small that step may be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or however the saying goes.
Yeah.
So, what else do we have?
Well, we got one model new this week for 40k, which is because GW got to 500,000 Instagram followers. They decided to show off Deathleaper. So that's, for those who are unaware, is a lictor named character for the Tyranids, a very powerful one at that, who is known as the ultimate assassin hunter type creature. And so they've decided to give him a new model for the edition to go alongside the new Von Ryan's Leapers. I know they're not the same strain, but So there's a new Deathleaper model, and it is over-designed as hell.
Yeah, it has a trench coat.
Yeah,
and I'm only being mildly comedically hyperbolic.
No, they use that word in the article. Tailcoat. They use that word.
It's like, but someone actually pointed out, like, it's less of a trench coat and more of a skirt because it starts at the hip, which means, like, it's basically, it seems like a big reference to one very old 40k meme. If you know, you know. I won't say because of Tactica students, but if you know, you know.
But yeah, apart from the skirt, or whatever we're calling it today, I just think, yeah, whatever we're calling it, I think the base design is fine. It's just interesting because the old Deathleaper was very compact, very big in many places, but it kept itself quite to itself because it was an old metal cast. This model feels really spread out, but it feels like most of it's just wibbly bits that are just getting in the way. Like, they've made its face tentacles a lot bigger. They've moved its head around to make it look a bit more like a more modern Tyranid. The scything talons go out way further. It's got this new prehensile tail stuff going. Oh, it's already had a prehensile tail.
Back of its head.
Yeah, it's coming out the back of its head even. I don't know. There's nothing wrong with it. If you told me this is a really powerful Tyranid Alpha Hunter Beast, I'd tell you, yeah, looks like it. But I don't know. I really like Deathleaper. I just think this model is too busy. It's doing too much to take the old design and say, but what if we made it bigger? What if we made it flashier?
I have an idea for this. Okay, hear me out. So, if you replace the big praying mantis style scything talons with more generic looking claws or something like the Carnifex Crusher claws, for example, get rid of the tail coming out the back of the head, you could probably make this into like an Imgal Genestealer Patriarch. This could work as an Imgal Genestealer Patriarch.
I hadn't thought of that. That's a really cool idea.
Because if you look at the shape of the head, it's got a very Genestealery head. It's very round.
Very long.
Yeah, very round. It's not like the more reptilian head of the previous lictors, regardless of the, Cthulhu mouth, whatever. But with the open mouth, it's actually got proper teeth coming out on the top, on its upper jaw as well. So this could work as an Imgal Genestealer Patriarch.
Yeah, I think you could certainly do stuff with it, and I think a Genestealer Patriarch is a really cool direction to take it. It's not as bad as, like, Constantine Baldor, don't get me wrong. When we say it's over-designed, I'm not talking like Constantine Baldor, but I do feel it is a bit too busy.
Agreed.
You can win one if you do actually happen to like it. You can win one if you follow Instagram Warhammer Official and comment on the post. You have a chance to win one, but, that's up to you. Yeah. But no, that's really kind of it, because all the stuff this week has been... Oh, there's a new General's Handbook, which is going to last a whole year for Age of Sigmar, but 90% of what's going on is about rules and points and updates and 10th edition. It's also worth noting, in the background, they are setting up AOS 4.
Yeah, because they're posting like brand new fiction for free on Warhammer Community in regards to it, aren't they?
Yes. Now...
The Dawnbringer Chronicles.
Yes, this is because of the models that were revealed, I think, at Warhammer Fest. I've forgotten exactly when they were revealed. I think it was at Warhammer Fest.
I think it was Warhammer Fest, because there was that Flesh Eater Gorg with the battle standard kind of thing, wasn't there? And
and the Maggotkin Lord that was a throwback to the old Chaos Lord.
Yeah, that was Warhammer Fest. Yeah, because we discussed that when we had Suggs on, didn't we?
Yes, that was it. So yeah, there's them, and they're all getting their own stories. These are like the heralds of, AOS 4 as it's going to be. So it's worth noting that even a year out, they're starting to either set up a big campaign or maybe even lay the groundwork for AOS 4, which is fine. And I feel like I'm having a bit of a complaint today, which I don't know if I really should, but I don't know. It's a hot day, and maybe I'm just running a bit tired. But
yeah, to put it in perspective, currently in the UK, we're dealing with a bit of a heat wave at the moment, and it's very humid as well. So
it's 23 Celsius right now. It's 23 Celsius, which I know is nothing to most of you Americans.
But bear in mind, it's also about 7 o'clock at night as well. So for the UK, that's pretty warm. Yeah.
So, I don't know. I finally reached the point of, can we slow down the release cycle, please? Because, for context, I came into the hobby in 2008 with 5th edition, and It was 4 years for 5th, 2 years for 6th, and been 3 years ever since 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. AOS has been on a 3-year cycle, and now Heresy's coming in, and that's going to be on a 3-year cycle, I suspect. And I understand that GW's model might be about rushing stuff out and getting new stuff every week in your face. Look at the thing, and that therefore means new rules need to be made so they can get the thing in your face. But I've reached the point now of, can we just slow down and let the game breathe and just have it? Like, I appreciate the only game that's lasted more than 5 years is 3rd edition, because 4th edition lasted 4 years as well, and I think 3rd edition lasted 6. So it's been.
First edition lasted 6 years, because that was 1987 to 1993, and then second edition was 1993 to 1998, so that was 5 years.
And then 2004 was 4th, so that was 6 years.
Yeah.
Like, I appreciate that we're not actually going that much quicker these days, but I'm hoping that with Old World on its way, we can move from a 3-year cycle to a 4-year cycle per edition. Because I don't know about you, but, well, I'm only talking to the viewers here because I know you don't have much time to play, Ram, but I've only really got to play 9th edition this last year or so, and that's through Warhammer Club because it's given me announced that. But I've not played it properly. I've not played it competitively. I've not used relics. I've not used warlord traits. I've not used chapter approved missions or all of this stuff because it just doesn't suit our environment. But
I mean, to be honest, I don't think that, that in fact that 9th edition came out, around, pandemic era as well. That didn't really help out.
That isn't helping, absolutely, but the fact that when I started this channel, it was the end of I started the channel in January 2014, so just before 7th came out, and that means that I've been doing YouTube for across 4 editions of Warhammer 40,000, and I blinked and I feel like it was yesterday, and that's a bit crazy to me, and I just think they need to slow down a little bit. I understand they've got to get stuff out and they want to do releases every week because monthly releases isn't right, apparently. I don't know. But it just feels like there's such a constant stream of stuff, and that if you miss a week, you miss out on loads, or you get the wrong week and you just miss it, or it sells out within 2 nanoseconds or whatever. I just think maybe we could do with slowing down the schedule just a bit. And it might be that this 4-year cycle with Old World and Heresy, because it's either going to be Heresy and Old World get 6 years each, or AOS 40k Heresy Old World is a 4-year cycle, which I'm okay with. I'm okay with a 4-year cycle, just slowing it down a little bit. I don't need new releases every week. When I was younger and had all the time and all the things and a little bit of disposable income, yeah, new releases every week sounds amazing. But as someone who's a bit older and doesn't have as much time and is settling down to adulthood and the responsibilities that come with it, I'm happy for there to be one release day a month, and there to be, this is all the models that are going to come out this month. There's no Sunday previews. There'll just be, right, this month, these are the models. Everything you've seen in articles this month is coming out this month at this time, on this date, and it all goes up. We can do all the things with the systems if that's what we want to do. But if they slowed down the schedule to one big release a month, or slightly staggered but not every week releases with a big chunk for one major project every month,
or even alternate between games, like maybe one week you get 40k, next week you get AOS, next week you get specialist games, next week I don't know, made to order, Forge World stuff. I don't know.
I mean, even then, as someone who plays 2 game systems, and I know there's many people who play 3, that's still going to be really oppressive. I just.
I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's better than having hey, here's AOS 40k and everything all 1 week, and the same again the next week, and the same again the week after. Yeah,
I agree with that. And maybe I'm just being old, and maybe I'm just a Warhammer boomer now who harkens for the old days of 15 years ago. But
you're the Warhammer boomer. Excuse me, I'm the one who started playing in second.
I know, Ram, but.
I mean, technically, I got into the franchise at the very, very, very tail end of first, technically speaking.
Yeah, because the other thing that would do, and I don't know, I'm just waxing nostalgic now, is I miss reading through White Dwarf and learning what was coming out that month.
Oh, God, yeah, those were the days. Sorry, carry on.
Like just getting your White Dwarf and going, that's cool. And then you start working out, okay, that's everything this month. What should I get? What can I get? And all of that, because you see the whole thing laid out in front of you. All the costs, all the dates, everything. You can start planning, budgeting, and preparing. And because you know what's coming the following month, because I'll say, next month, this. Say, am I interested in that? Do I need to save for that? And should I invest this month? Whereas now, because it's a constant stream, it's just like...
It does make it hard to budget things, I agree, yeah. Because that's one thing I did love about the old, like, 2nd and 3rd edition era White Dwarfs. Like, it was like, coming next month, Imperial Guard Battle Force box set, £40, pre-order, phone mail order for details kind of thing. You could place the pre-order over the phone back then, but at least they go, hey, it's coming out next month. You want to reserve your copy? Kind of thing.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. Also, I just noticed that Necromunda, this edition of Necromunda is almost 6 years old. It actually turns 6 this year, this edition.
Is it? Right, yeah. I didn't realise it was that old.
And speaking of Necromunda, there's some new Necromunda DLC that's come out.
Oh.
It's a prison break scenario called Escape from Zalctra. Funny.
Terrible.
And were you just screaming into a pillow just then?
No, I was just I was trying to contain myself.
Yeah, Escape from Zalctra. Yeah,
Terrible.
I wonder what that's referencing.
I wonder.
Oh, clearly it's Broadmoor, obviously, but hey. Anyway. But yeah, I do appreciate the fact that for Horus Heresy and for Necromunda, they do release effectively free DLC on Warhammer Community. Just here's a little scenario PDF, have fun kind of thing. I do appreciate that. You know, I wish they did more for that for 40k and AOS as well. But at least it's nice that at least 2 games are getting that kind of thing.
Well, often they put them inside White Dwarf. Like, here's a cool mission, here's a cool thing, and you don't. Again, because it's constant, you get White. I know White Dwarfs every month, but again, you've just got that constant stream, and I don't know.
Ow.
Maybe I am just getting old and getting annoying, but I actually, I know, deal.
Sorry.
But no, it's fine. It's just interesting that I find myself missing that now that I'm a bit older. I find myself missing actually getting a break from it and being able to sit with White Dwarf for a month. And it'd actually be worth something. Because if you buy White Dwarf at the moment, what do you actually get out of it? You get to see people's models. You get to see the odd lore article and maybe a tactics article for a game that's going to be patched out within 2 minutes, because that's how they do these things these days. And you get a battle report and a story, and you get a few bits, but the value of White Dwarf for what you pay, because it's nearly £9 now, White Dwarf, compared to when I started, it was £4.50.
Bloody. Hang on, I've actually got an old issue of White Dwarf to hand with me. 1 second, I'll tell you how much this one cost. Back in my day, back in the year 2000, White Dwarf only cost me £3.50.
Bloody inflation.
This was actually the issue I have in hand was issue 249, which was one of the 25 Years of Games Workshop editions, which talks about the Black Templars, Warzone Tempestora, and reviewing the Grand Tournament. It actually had the model for Chaplain Xavier of the Salamanders and Grotznik's model, which I think is still being sold.
Grotznik definitely is.
The exact same bloody model.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, this is the one. Yeah, I remember mentioning this in the past. This is the issue that has the quest to find the Invincible Army for Warhammer Fantasy.
Oh, yeah, you mentioned that before. I remember that.
Yeah. Where was it? Yeah, because the Example Army, which was just to show you down to 3,000 points, it was mostly it was mostly Stegodons. Mostly Stegodons, a few very small units of Skinks. What was it? 3 Stegodons, 2 packs of Pterodon riders, some heroes on Pterodons, and some Slam Mage Priests. Because that was back when Pterodons. I don't know if they kept this in Age of Sigmar, or whatever they're called now for the new one. But they're now
the Ripperjacks, I think. No, not Ripperjacks.
Rebel Check's Necromunda.
No, there are flying skink riders, I'm pretty sure. I don't know if they're called pterodons, but they are.
But my point is, back in the day, they had a rock attack.
Yep.
So basically, when you charge, it's like an automatic strength 6 hit or something. When you charge, that's no saving throws allowed. So basically, literally, you just use that charge the enemy's generals. Like you pretty much kill them instantly with rocks. Oh yeah, it actually happened in Age of Sigmar Battle Report, didn't it? Like they killed Bellicor on one turn by just dropping a rock on him, didn't they?
I can't remember if it was AOS or Fantasy when that happened, but I do remember it happening.
That was AOS. That was AOS. I remember that.
Yeah,
that was AOS. I remember that. Because everyone was ridiculing Bellicor. Like, Bellicor was meant to be the first demon prince, the first and greatest of all demon princes, and he got killed by having a rock dropped on his head.
Right, fair. But no, just because just to bring it back around to what we were saying about White Dwarf, like,
yes,
what is the point of White Dwarf if you're not absolutely super mega dedicated? Like, in terms of what, as a hobbyist, what use is it to you? Like, if it's the Warhammer magazine and it does not talk about the models being released at all, because otherwise it would spoil the entire month, you can't actually use it. And so I just feel like they don't talk about, hey, here's the new army this month being used in a battle report. Come check it out. Because I've literally got in my head pinging around. Like, first White Dwarf I ever bought, July 2008, Abaddon the Despoiler and a Chaos Space Marine army losing, piloted by Gav Thorpe, against Alicia Cavatore and an Ultramarines army in a capture and control game. Still remember it. Then the following month was Dark Elves, smashing the High Elves, in which I think had, I don't know if it was Adam Trogue, I can't remember who it was now.
Oh, was that 8th edition fantasy?
7th.
7th. Was that back when all Dark Elves, everything in the Dark Elf army had the hatred, or not hates High Elves, but
hates everything.
Hatred in general.
That was the edition they were giving it.
Yeah, God, that rule was such bullshit. Like, it made sense, hates High Elves. Okay, yeah, it makes sense from a law perspective to then have hatred for High Elves, but literally everything had hatred towards everything, even their fucking horses, their dragons. Like, this army's bullshit, I'm sorry.
High Elves had always strikes first across their entire army. You want bullshit, always strikes first, great weapons, mate.
Yeah, I know, it was bullshit. Like, the power creep was ridiculous.
But anyway,
I remember playing a game against Dark Elves that edition. I was using Beastmen at the time. I wasn't using my Lizardmen. I was using my Beastmen army the first time I ever used it, which was comprised entirely of Minotaurs because I had a Doomball as the general. So all my units were Minotaurs and a couple of packs of Chaos Hounds, and that was just massive units of Minotaurs. And the Dark Elf armies were always ones to give me so much grief because of that fucking hatred rule. I think the only other army that actually gave me grief was one Chaos Warrior army, and they literally had like only 3 units, like 2 units of 5 Marauders, and like 1 unit of like 50 Chaos Warriors led by Sigvald.
God.
And I was like, this army is bullshit.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
It's like, fuck your tournament player power game BS. This is meant to be a friendly game. Why are you power gaming at a fucking friendly, you bastard?
And you say I'm salty. But yeah, I get you. It's just weird that, I don't know, I keep circling about it, that White Dwarf just feels completely meaningless. And I just...
Out of curiosity, when was the last time White Dwarf gave anything away, as in like a free gift type thing? And I'm not just talking about like, you know, a card data sheet or something like that. I mean like an actual physical model.
I remember one for 5th edition 40k, which was Black Reach. You got a Terminator or an Orc Knob, and it was the one issue I didn't buy in the first 5 years of my hobby time. I didn't buy that one. It was the only one I missed. I can't think of another one since, though I'm willing to be corrected.
Because I remember a few issues when I was like avid reader of White Dwarf. This was back in 2nd edition, early to mid 3rd edition 40k years. And I remember getting things like, oh, here's a pair of a sprue of skinks for Warhammer Fantasy. Here's a blister pack for a Necron. You know, the very first actual metal Necron miniature. That was a proper Necron, not a Chaos Android. Mm-hmm. Here's a special character for Mordheim that you can only get with White Dwarf. You can't get it anywhere else. But they did release it later, but that was like about a good 3 or 4 years later, they actually released it separately. That was Aenor, the Sword of Twilight.
Who was
like I suppose a stupidly overpowered overpowered hired sword in more time.
Yeah, I think what they've done is they've got the miniature of the month now. So you go into a Warhammer store and they give you a free mini based on the theme of the army that month. So they do that now, where you can get a clan rat or get a demonette or get a Votan or whatever. So that's what they do that now in terms of miniature of the month. But yeah,
I also remember back during second edition Space Hulk, there was one issue of White Dwarf that came with an entirely new Space Hulk campaign, and you got a huge set of actual cardboard tiles for Space Hulk, board pieces, like about 3 or 4 sheets worth, which was really cool back in the day, because that was the first time I actually had Space Hulk templates before I actually bought the box game myself. So that was really cool. Or you can get war gear, special war gear cards or strategy cards for 40k, and stuff like that. I miss days like that. I don't know how often they do it now. So everyone listening, if anyone's an avid White Dwarf reader, subscriber, whatever, leave a comment down below and let us know if they actually, if they still do that kind of thing these days.
Yeah, it would be interesting for sure. I feel like we just went on a complete random tangent there because I just got wistful about the release schedule and that led into a whole argument about the future of White Dwarf. So I don't know.
I think we can all agree, if anyone's been in the hobby as long as I have, we can all agree that the best era of White Dwarf was the fat bloke era. That was peak White Dwarf. And I'm not making fun of someone. That was literally how he described himself. It was Paul Fat Bloke Sawyer. That was the peak era of White Dwarf.
Fair. That's before my time.
Yeah. Fun fact, that's also who the Fat Bloke Burger is named after at Bugman's Bar in Warhammer World.
That makes sense when you put it together.
Yeah.
But yes, beyond that, obviously we've had this conversation. There's a few little bits knocking about. Actually, probably the biggest stuff has actually been in the world of video gaming, actually, as Space Marine 2 received a new trailer which confirmed co-op play to be a thing. So the campaign has a co-op mode. You do the 3-player co-op campaign, if you so wish.
I miss days when video games had couch co-op.
Well, maybe it has...
No games these days have couch co-op. Everything's all fucking online. Everyone has to be on. You can't just sit on the sofa with your friends and play a game together. I miss those days. I mean, I'm old.
There are some that do. I reckon you can still play games like COD and some games that way. But yeah, most newer IPs.
I think the only exception ones are things like, fighting games like Street Fighter. I think those are literally the only exception.
Fair.
Because I remember on Sega Dreamcast, 4-player split screen for Quake 3 Arena. That was the jam back then, back in 1999.
Yeah, and I did play a lot of Modern Warfare 2 lobbies on PS3 with my mates or my brother and stuff sat on our bed just playing.
Yeah.
So I get I do miss that kind of thing, but I suppose they need to have the option for online multiplayer all the time and online co-op, but at the same time and split screen does limit your view, which especially when you're in third person, it must be a right pain in the neck. I think it depends on what sort of game it is as to whether couch co-op or split screen or online co-op is the way to go. But Space Marine 2 is such a big open game that I get the feeling that they needed to do that.
Is it actually going to be open, or is it going to be very linear with a...
Well, which I mean expansive, in terms of look at. You need a wide view.
Sorry. I thought you meant expansive as in a big open world game.
No, sorry, that's bad. That's bad from me.
New Vegas or something. I don't know. Right,
no.
Okay, my bad.
So no, I think they need the space to see the whole screen, because if you chop it in half, you're not going to see 90% of what you probably want or need to see. But I don't know. I think it'll be good. I don't expect I'm going to end up picking it up because of time, and just having the time to sit down and actually play is just not going to happen. But I'll watch the campaign, walk through, see if the story's any good, whether the gameplay's any good. Something someone pointed out is apparently they've still only shown 2 enemy types, which is Gaunts and Tyrannid Warriors. They still haven't actually shown any other units, but I'm willing to be corrected by that. Yeah, we'll see.
I'll be honest, I've not been paying attention to the game, to be honest. it's kind of like the whole bolt gun situation, because you know how excited I was for bolt gun, and then everyone kept going about, and no one would shut about my Twitter feed was just filled with bolt gun, and I got to the point where it's like I don't care anymore. I mean, like I got oversaturated with it, you know.
Oh.
Like, you ever get that feeling like when people overhype something and like something you were excited for and everyone else gets all hyped up and then it starts like turning you off, essentially. It's like, oh, I don't know if I'm actually that excited for it anymore, actually. You know, and then you get to the point where it's like, God, everyone just shut up about it.
Yeah, sometimes you've got to turn off from...
Yeah. Agreed. I mean, because I've not played Bolt Gun yet. I mean, I might get it down the line, but at the moment I just literally have no interest to play it now. I mean, I'm not saying it's bad or anything. I'm not trying to be a contrarian or anything like that. I'm just saying because of how overexposed, like I was being bombarded constantly on my social media and just seeing in my YouTube recommendations, everyone going on and on about. I'm just like, God, can we just talk about something else for a change? You know.
I get what you're saying, to be honest, and yeah,
overhype, I think is a term. Yeah, which is a shame.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not saying the game's bad because I've not played it, so I can't say one way or the other. You know, if you like the game, cool. If you enjoyed it, brilliant. Not complaining, I'm not stopping you or anything like that. I'm just saying at this particular point in time, I got sick of everyone talking about it.
Yeah, which is absolutely fine. You're well within your rights. If you're looking for something a little different, though, we got a first look proper at Realms of Ruin, the Age of Sigmar RTS.
Ooh. Oh, was this I didn't get to see this. Is this being done more like Dawn of War 1 or Dawn of War 2?
Well,
in terms of gameplay.
I'll show you the article. If you look at the screenshot of like the gameplay screen, you can see that you've got a unit selected, which is running up, and you've got a very large minimap with a lot of control points. You seem to have resources and unit caps in the top left corner, victory point bars across the top. It's hard to tell exactly. I think it's more following Dawn of War 1, certainly over Dawn of War 2. It's certainly a lot more Dawn of War 1.
It depends, I imagine, if they're like, you know, if you have to do structure building, base building, that kind of thing.
Base building?
If it's base building, it'll be more Dawn of War 1. If it's no base building, it'll be more Dawn of War 2.
Well, yeah, because obviously Dawn of War 2 was also like very small skirmish combat of like 3 or 4 heroes, really. It wasn't really squads in the same way as Dawn of War 1 was massive armies.
This seems to be very, very small units, because like I see like 2 units of Stormcast against like 2 or 3 units of Crawlboys, that kind of thing.
You can also see in other images and in the trailer, the Marsh Crawler Sloggoth shows up, which is one of the monsters, as do Prosecutors, and the Dragon, the Stormdrake Guard, also shows up. So there are some bigger, heavier units present. It's not just skirmish.
Oh yeah, I know there will be. No, my point was like there won't. It's not going to be like huge armies. Essentially, it's going to be like a small selection of units as a small number, not as in like a small amount to choose from, just a small physical number.
Yeah, because the unit cap for this Stormcast army appears to be 8 units, but that may be movable with tech or bases. And clearly, if you look at the minimap, each army has a base area, which assumedly comes with a base. I haven't done enough with it. They haven't shown enough in the gameplay yet. It's only just like a gameplay trailer, so we haven't really seen how it fits together. But I don't think it's going to be a straight up copy of Dawn of War 1. But I don't know if it's quite as skirmishy as Dawn of War 2 or as jank shit as Dawn of War 3 was. We'll see.
We don't talk about Dawn of War 3.
We don't
that
talk
game
about
doesn't
it.
exist.
Yeah. But in terms of its structure...
We retcon that game out of existence.
No. But it does have a single-player campaign. It's got cross-platform multiplayer for 1v1 and 2v2. It's got console and PC compatibility, different controller inputs, mouse and keyboard. It's going to be on PS5 as well as PC. So, and it's Xbox as well. So... plenty going on. And if you want to give it a try, there is an open beta on the 7th to the 10th of July. So from time of release, about 2 weeks' time.
Fair enough.
So yeah, that's video game land. Little bits ticking over, a few things going on. And
also, I apologize if my voice is going. I don't know why. I'm just going to blame the humidity.
well, we can keep it relative without waffling on too much. One place I would like to go, though, is Caiaphas Cain's back again.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a new Caiaphas Cain novel, which again is coming from the perspective of Amberley Vale and all of that. And the book is called Vainglorious. Well, Caiaphas Cain, Vainglorious.
Vainglorious. Root's theme intensifies.
So yes, when the flow of weapons for the Astrum of the Time slows to nothing from a Forge world, Caiaphas Cain is called on to investigate. His retirement is on the line, so he must navigate assassination attempts, legions of mutinous Skitarii, heresy within the Adeptus Mechanicus, and a hidden foe pulling the strings with an agenda that could threaten the future of Imperial rule in the Damocles Gulf. That fits together quite nicely with what Caiaphas Cain does. I remember reading I don't know if it was Old Soldiers Never Die or whether it was the zombie. I think it was the zombie one. I've forgotten its name right now. The zombie one.
Funny enough, speaking of Old Soldiers Never Die, there's also another Caiaphas Cain book coming out called Caiaphas Cain, the Anthology, which includes Old Soldiers Never Die and 13 other stories.
Indeed. What's the one? Oh, go away, Apple Books. What is the one?
Fucking voice.
What's the one I own? Because I do own one of the Caiaphas Cain books. I just go away. I am trying to find.
Wasn't it Old Soldiers Never Die you own?
I thought I owned a longer one. Oh no, it was Old Soldiers Never Die. You're right. I thought it was a longer one than just a novella. I was clearly wrong.
Because wasn't that one they had they dropped the holy water on people or something?
Yes. They literally called on Basilisk to fire holy water shells to cure a zombie plague.
That's the one.
Which is dumb, but also funny.
I mean, it's a Caiaphas Cain, but of course it's fucking dumb.
Yeah.
Everyone in the comments, leave your Caiaphas Cain comments, because we know they're fucking coming.
Indeed. So no, I actually think that would be quite a good book to read, Vainglorious. If I get time, I'll pick it up, because I do think it'll be quite good. What's the Black Library Coming Soon page looking like these days? Because we haven't talked about it in a while. It
hasn't been updated.
Yeah, so...
It hasn't been updated.
Never mind then. Well,
to put it into perspective for everyone, it's still advertising books coming out in May, and we're halfway through June.
Oh dear.
Like the only books that haven't actually been released this month so far that on this list is The Martyr's Tomb, Dawn of Fire, and the Lords of Blood anthology. Oh, and the Cypher book coming out in July, but that's about it.
Yeah, it's not a lot.
It's not a lot. Oh, and King of the Spoil is coming out in this month as well, but that's about it. I think that already came out.
Maybe. I mean, the Leviathan book's obviously about to come out the 10th. The featured section has bloody Fall of Damnos on it. That should tell you how much is going on at the moment. Oh, there's another Peter Veyavari Tau short.
Oh, is that?
Altar of Moors?
Oh, that wasn't that part of the thing that happened when there was about 5 or 6 short stories that came out one week, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Like Stealing Orpheon, Whispering Blade.
Yeah, it's one of them, yeah.
Altar of Moors, that's the one, yeah.
Yeah. There's not a lot. The featured section is really, really boring.
Oh, I want to check out The Forbidden Meal, because it's a Kroot story.
Oh, Blightslayer, the new Gotrek book. I do want to get my hands on that because I enjoyed the previous Gotrek books.
Yeah. The Gotrek books are always, been generally pretty good, overall, yeah. But yeah, there's even a book about Oculus Imperia as well.
Ouch.
It's a book about the Logos Historica Vertia.
Okay, less ouch then.
It's not an Oculus Imperia short story. That would be a bit on there. It's like, hang on.
No, I thought you were just coming up with some sort of insult because that's just
no. The Stealing Orpheon story is literally described as a Logos Historica Vertia short story.
Ah. Right, I see. But no,
we're meant to be an insult.
There's actually a few things I need to pick up. Wait, they put their prices up.
Games Workshop, of course they have.
No, Black Library. Novels used to be $8.99; they're now $10.99.
It partly depends on how recent the novels are. In fairness, as well.
Not the bloody point. Like brand new novels used to be $8.99. And
like Devastation Above, for example, is only £6.49.
Yeah, most of the older ones, like Soul Slayer, the Zotharth Rabis, Ossiarch story, Godsbane, all stuff I've read in the past, yeah, they're $6.49. But new releases have gone up by £2. Because I'm looking at God Eater's Son, for example, the sort of Chaos Stormcast looking thing, and there's the Goblin book Bad Loon Rising and the Gotrek novel, and they're all $10.99, which they weren't before.
That reminds me, did you manage to get hold of the Shadow Sun book yet?
No, I've been rather busy, I'm afraid.
Fair enough. I just thought you figured you would have wanted to get that and read that.
I'm sure I would. It's just it's time. It's all just time.
Yeah, agreed. Oh, pardon me. I mean, I don't mind the increased price for certain types of books. Like, if it's like an anthology, like an omnibus or something, that's not really an issue because you're getting more. Like the Gaunt's Ghosts omnibuses, for example, that's basically 3 novels in one. So, like, 10, 12 quid for 3 novels, that's a pretty good price in fairness. You're basically paying like, £4 a novel. That's not bad.
Yeah, but a single... But
11 quid for like one novel, for example, that's a bit taking the pee.
Especially when it's an ebook and there's no physical cost.
Yeah. God, do you remember when Black Library used to actually sell physical copies? They haven't done that since before the pandemic.
I mean, you can still probably buy a physical copy in some places.
You can, but you have to get it off Games Workshop, so you can't get it off Black Library.
Ah.
Literally, if you go on Black Library's website, all the books, you get an ebook or audiobook as an MP3 download, but literally no physical copies at all.
True, actually.
They haven't sold a physical copy of a book on Black Library's site since before the pandemic.
Right, that's mad.
They stopped selling them during the pandemic, which obviously made sense. Like, hey, we don't really want to ship physical stuff out to anyone because of the plague kind of thing. So making it all digital then was a perfectly understandable move. But now, come on, guys, you can ship your shit out. But again, given the incidents with their new warehouse, they probably lost it all. I don't know.
I don't know.
Anyway, I'm being very cynical today, aren't I?
It's just a thing we do. So let's go and find something silly. Blood Bowl's got a new Nurgle star player.
Oh yeah, the fat boy.
So yes, this is Bile Rot Vomit Flesh. Because he just didn't look after himself as a up and coming star player. Got really ill. They kicked him out, and he was hired by the Nurgle team.
Fair enough.
So, yes.
Oh, that reminds me. Did you get a chance to talk about the upcoming AOS Lumineth novel, Children of Teclis?
No, I don't think I did, actually.
I'm now giving you permission to talk about it.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't talk about it last
Yeah,
time.
they did an article about it where they previewed it. Previewed a chapter or a snippet. It was a few weeks ago, so it had gone completely out of my head, if I'm completely honest. I will definitely pick it up, and it did look quite good, and it's very, very much a Lumineth novel, for the record. What I remember of it is very much a Lumineth novel. I'm just sort of... there we go.
Trying to find it.
Yeah, got it. So yeah, a lore seeker is, they're basically just hunting around for Nagash or necromantic stuff in Shyish, which they shouldn't be doing. And then the Ideneth are apparently fucking about as well.
But
so
do they find out?
Probably.
Hey!
But no, I do think it's interesting that she's just sort of looking around in the realm of death, and I think there's a Stormbolt, or well, maybe not Stormbolt. There's stuff going on, so I'm curious to see where it goes when it comes, because it's still not on pre-order yet. But I mean, all the Lumineth novels up to now have been very good. This one's by a new author, Evan Dickon, who I don't recognise, but it should be interesting, definitely, because the Ideneth that live in Shyish, Morfan, they're actually the army I play, is Morfan. Plus okay. Lumineth, plus Death Magic and Shyish in general is really cool, as I found from the Ossiarch novels. So I actually would be very curious to give this a read eventually.
Fair enough. You still need to read through the next Dawn of Fire as well.
I've got too much to do, Remleiz, but yes, I will eventually try and pick up book 5. But it's coming up to summer holidays, so maybe I'll find a little bit of time. But we'll see. We'll see.
If need be, you can always get the audio book and put it on while you're doing household chores or whatever.
As I said before with audiobooks, I need to sit and listen. Otherwise, I don't take the story in. If I was going to talk about them here, I'd need to read them or listen to it properly and then take notes. Because when I listen, things fall in and out of my head far too quickly.
Yeah, I can understand that. I'll be honest, when I've tried listening through audiobooks, like, I kind of tune out after a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, what else? There's not really much else, is there, in the news?
No.
Considering that we missed an entire, 2-week schedule because of Quizcastus, we didn't really miss that much, did we?
No, unless you're very much following along with the rule stuff and talk about all the rules. There isn't a lot to say.
Yeah, we're not going to be discussing all the rule stuff.
No, there's just absolutely no need. I will be playing it next week for the first time, so I'll probably next episode have some feedback on like how I'm finding the game to play, how my tower are playing, maybe how the orcs are playing, just to get a bit of feedback on how the game's actually going on the show. But I'll let you know.
Yeah, that's fair enough. There was also Middle-earth faction focus on Rohan, but no one cares.
Yeah, sorry, Middle-earth players. We know you exist, but sorry.
All 3 of you.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's pretty much it for the news. Quite a short one. Mainly because we're not going through every single faction focus card because fuck that. I do not have the patience.
Yeah.
But anyway.
I just want to say as well, while we're talking about like, moving on and things, and I just want to say thank you for all the feedback on the previous episode. Like, I think I was asking around about it, said it was the most viewed episode of the podcast, maybe ever. Maybe not ever, but
it's not ever, but it's the most viewed in recent years. Because I think the only ones that have got more views are the ones that are like a few years older. I mean, let's be honest, our most viewed episode of the podcast is the one with Markiplier, because let's be honest, it's Markiplier. Of course that's going to be the most viewed episode. kind of thing. But considering that, within the first, 10 days, and we're like, about 9,500 views on that, which is, for an episode of the show, that's pretty bloody huge.
Yeah, and the comments were just a lot of fun, like different rooting for people and comments, and taking it for what it was, which was a lot of fun with an asshole, which is me, because I am the asshole in this game. I was healing it up and went for it, and it worked really, really well.
We'll just call it MJ Neve. There you go.
No, it was good fun, and I definitely...
Or NJF, rather.
No, I did have a lot of fun with the show, and much as I know it's a lot of work for Rem, especially to put together, it is always great.
You have no idea how long that took for me to put together in post. It was something like 3 days straight of like maybe only like 2 or 3 hours sleep at most. It was like
I mean, just the bloody planning, writing all the questions, planning the game mode, all of that stuff would have taken you like 3 hours.
No, writing all the questions, that took me a couple of weeks just trying to get everything together. It's like just trying to find like, is this question too much of an asshole question kind of thing? That's too easy.
You definitely picked asshole questions for Tau because you knew I'd get them all right. You definitely, right, Neve knows her Tau, make every Tau question an absolute bitch. So,
I mean, well, every question that you got so far was an asshole, but there were some easy ones in there. Like, one of the questions that you didn't get randomly generated was the standard armament of a devilfish?
A burst cannon and 2 gun drones.
Exactly. So you could have gotten that one.
Yeah, but no, it is what it is, and it was a hell of a lot of fun. And actually, just sitting down and
I just loved your reaction when you thought I was going to ask you Farsight's name and I asked for Shadowsuns. You were like, "Oh fuck!"
Yeah, I was, because I did Farsight's last time, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm ready.
Do you really think I was going to ask you the same question 2 editions in a row?
No, I didn't. But you set it up and then changed it. I was like, "Oh no."
I mean, Maybe guess what? Next time, what's the full name of Okais? It's like, fuck.
I don't even know what planet Kais is from. I didn't even know what planet bloody Shas was from.
Yeah, because you were like, oh no, she's Delithian. Wait, she's Violan. Fuck.
Yeah, I was so shocked that she was Violan. I did not expect that.
Yeah.
But anyway,
but I'm definitely keeping that Discord server open just to swap players around in future.
And that assassin game, I know none of us actually worked out who the character was, but God, that assassin game was so fun. And I was like, I was actually properly working it out, and it requires so much depth of thought and setup to play it. It's like, it was a hell of a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that game. And
you got to feel sorry for Oculus in that last round when he was the assassin. He got picked first. Like, Oculus, is this person a commander? No, and it was fucking Macarius.
Yeah, that was bad luck. But like when it came out, and when you are the assassin, you're like, please don't talk to me, please don't talk to me, please don't talk to me, please don't talk to me. And then you're just waiting and trying to build a picture. And I was impressed with myself at how close I got when I took a shot and missed by, well...
You were very close because you guessed
Ragnar or Logan.
You guessed Ragnar and the answer was Logan.
Yeah, because someone said he was quite young, and I was like, okay, it's Ragnar then. But no.
No. Someone asked if he was venerable, and when Narina asked what that meant, because English isn't her first language, they changed. Oh no, he's not venerable then, even though he is. But
yeah, but no, it was great fun, and definitely would be interested in doing it. And if we'd rather like tag team it and sort of, well, both set it up and host it and have two different teams of people. I mean, obviously Oculus has got to come back and defend his title, and I do want my title back, but at the same time, it might be of use if both of us work together and sort of plan versus hosting versus all of that. Because let's be fair, one thing that game sometimes that sort of thing benefits from is commentary.
I never told you what my plan was if there was a tie. I'm going to say it now, because my plan was if you and Oculus tied...
Which could have happened if he'd not stolen it.
Yep. You two would have entered a sudden death round where you need to take turns giving me respective answers. But what I would have needed you to do is to name every single Horus Heresy novel in reverse chronological order.
Oh, the survival series thing. You fucking asshole. I would have lost immediately. I would have lost immediately. Like, I know, bury dagger and stop. If you put it in chronological order, I could actually make a half decent start, but reverse, not a bloody chance.
Yeah. The funny thing is, you need to actually start with the newest Siege of Terror novel, because that's still technically Horus Heresy, so... Oh
god, I've actually lost off the bat, so yeah. But no, for games like that, it's not just a test of general knowledge is really good fun, but then actually being able to, as someone who really loves the lore and wishes she could spend more time reading it, being able to just flex your lore knowledge and work it out is actually just so much fun. Like, I know that makes me sound like a cocky little so-and-so, but just the ability to flex and stretch your lore knowledge and actually use it rather than just be, here's a quiz of things that you probably know if you've done some reading. It was proper deep thought and some analysis and thought processes and working it through. And I really enjoyed that because, I mean, admittedly, the eBay round was dumb, but, it was meant to be.
There's a reason why it's called The Price is Shite.
Yeah. But no, I really did enjoy it. And it is something we should definitely do again, and we will do again, absolutely. But
we are definitely doing it for episode 200. That's a given.
Yeah,
because there was one person I did originally ask to take part in 175, but they couldn't due to various reasons. I won't name names at this particular point in time, but they did express interest for the next one, though.
Yes, and there is
scheduling reasons.
And there's someone else who we haven't got any comms with, but we would love to get alongside them. If we could make it work. Yeah, I do know.
Yeah.
There's someone else who we haven't got any comms with them, but we'd love to get them on the show at some point, and getting those two people particularly in the same room would be absolutely brilliant. So we're going to keep pushing with Quizcastus, as maybe not every 25, because I do miss the grand schmoz that was episode 100 in some ways, but...
But I think 200 needs to be Yeah, the big fat Quizcasters of the year kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it will be pretty much Christmas, so yeah, good time as any.
Yeah. There you go. I tell you, something interesting I did learn. I'm talking about lore briefly. Because I started flicking through stories in the Successor anthology.
Oh, yeah.
And reading through the story about the Angel's Penitent / Angel's Resplendent, you know how the Blood Angels codices have pretty much always mentioned that the Blood Angels are the longest lived of all Space Marine chapters?
On average, yes.
Yeah. Well, it says here that the Angels Resplendent have a lifespan that is shorter than the average Space Marine.
Oh.
I was like, that's a really interesting genes flaw. Like, hey, we actually have shorter lifespans than the average Space Marine. So instead of living for, centuries, they probably live for, 2 or 3 at most kind of thing. Which is pretty interesting as far as Space Marine lore goes. I feel. Dropping my pen.
It's fine. No.
But yeah, some really interesting stuff in there.
Yeah, and I've just gone back to 174 in case we need any questions, and someone makes a comment that's really interesting in terms of lore details. The fact that the Lion novel, which we won't spoil, but the fact that Lion is back has pretty much allowed them to ditch the stupid plot twist of the Dark Angels are abandoning us to go and hunt the Fallen, because I saw a short by, I think it was a channel called Sandman of Terror. I don't watch them particularly, but they make shorts, and they made one about Lion and said that Lion has effectively disbanded the Interrogator Chaplains. Now, I don't know what the source on that is, but that the Interrogator Chaplains, the whole Hunt the Fallen thing is kind of gone. So,
going back to the Lion novel, the comments in regard to it, I noticed there were quite a lot of people saying, you missed all the Arthurian references, grr. It's I know jack shit about Arthurian lore, leave me alone.
Yeah, despite the fact that we are British, we don't learn much about medieval history. Genuinely, you're lucky if you do the Battle of Hastings. That's about as close as you get. King Arthur never comes up.
I'll be honest. At the previous schools I went to, the only historical stuff we really learned was World War One, and for some reason the American Civil Rights Movement. But that was it.
Right. But yeah, for me, I remember...
I didn't learn anything else.
I remember doing the Romans. I remember doing Henry VIII. I remember doing Battle of Hastings and the Norman Conquest. I remember doing the Civil Rights Movement. I remember doing World War One and World War Two. We did a bit about the period in between as well as part of my GCSE. So no, our actual knowledge of English history is pretty rubbish. In terms of what we're taught. A lot of it is stuff you pick up.
To reiterate, one of the things I learned in English history was about American history.
Yeah. I mean, admittedly, I didn't do the American Revolution. I didn't do the Civil War. I didn't do any of that.
Neither did I. It was the American Civil Rights Movement.
Yeah, and it's the same here.
And World War One. And it's can we learn about, the Tudors? Can we learn about them?
I did a little bit. I did the Spanish Armada. I remember
the Saxons.
Yeah, it's interesting.
The Armada. Yeah, we didn't learn about the Armada.
Yeah, it is. It's really weird and interesting, sort of because
my school was shit. So
yeah,
they turned my old school into a quote unquote a sports academy now.
Yeah, mine was
for saying we're not qualified to actually teach kids properly, so we just got to focus on sports instead. Because that's all we're good.
My old school was a business and enterprise college. But they didn't do business studies apart from a GCSE. There was no business enterprise at all. So it's just odd. But I'm not going to get into arguments about the curriculum. I'm a teacher, and therefore I know my place. I'm going to shush. But it's just
I am going to argue about the curriculum because my school was shit.
Yeah, it's just interesting what we do and don't teach, and what we make time to teach properly. And I've learned a lot. It's very interesting because one of the things that they study at GCSE history sometimes these days is the Cold War, and I never studied it, but I watched 2 oversimplified videos about 4 times about the Cold War, and I could genuinely probably pass the GCSE in the Cold War just from if I with a few more bits of details and actually reading around the things the video talked about, just from watching Oversimplified. And Horrible Histories, I was one of the kids who grew up with Horrible Histories, the books and the TV show.
Oh God, I remember the books. Yeah,
yeah, that we had the Horrible Histories like CDs playing in our car for years about the Tudors, the Egyptians, the Romans, and all of these different ones. It was just
so like the rotten Romans, the terrible Tudors, the vicious Victorians, that kind of thing, wasn't it?
Exactly.
God, I miss those books.
Yeah.
They still make those books?
Don't know. Don't think so.
I know there was a TV show, but that was well after my time.
Yeah, that was on the BBC.
God, I'm so fucking old.
Yeah, that was on the BBC. I remember that. But no, it's just interesting what we do and don't teach, and what we do and don't learn about in our own history. It's just interesting. But anyway, we're sort of getting sidetracked. I suppose it's the same though with people's bringing it back around to Warhammer. People's lore knowledge is it depends on who's your source. Obviously, people like yourself, you do very short, sharp snippets on very niche topics, as well as your Lore for Newcomer series, of course, that you did, which I remember proofreading for, and then you stopped sending me the proofreads for some reason. But
because you got busy with your teaching job.
Oh yeah, I did get a little bit disorganized. So yeah, sorry, hold my hands up there.
That's all right. Like, let's be honest. Like, you're already busy with marking everyone else's work, because you don't need all the extra work.
Yeah, it was never anything like long proofreading of 40k Lore for Newcomers. It was always
like at most like 5 pages or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was usually fixing spoken grammar to sound like written English. Usually, that was my main challenge.
My grammar's kind of weird compared to a lot of people. I have a very distinctive way of like putting stuff together.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Because
I sent I can't remember what it was for, but I sent a script to Oculus. Asked him to proofread it because he does that kind of thing for his day job.
Yeah.
And he rewrote it, and I read through it. I was like, how the fuck am I going to speak this? This is unintelligible to fucking put into actually spoken word. Like, on paper, it's perfect. It's one of those things like it's just fantastic to actually read, but when you actually have to speak, it's fucking terrible.
Yeah, it is really interesting, like spoken English versus not. But no, I think when you wanted to learn your lore, like, where'd you go? Like, I've got my videos which are like 25-minute, 15 to 30-minute dives of you get the surface level and then you go deeper. And yes, I know I haven't made a lore video in years. Do I even count as a lore person anymore? No, not really. But that's just a time issue. And I've said this in video after video that I just don't have time. I've still got a script sat on my phone about the Corvatra, which is ready. I just have never filmed it. And it doesn't help that the thumbnail for the last lore video was the Onaga was made by Zoran. Zoran made it for me.
Oh yeah, the space
in Photoshop. And he showed me the basics of how to do it, but I never then got Photoshop in practice because I was too busy making other stuff and doing other stuff to make actual videos again. So I never actually learned it, and thus I would be going back to my jank shit thumbnails compared to Zoran's masterpiece, which got way more views, by the way. So it is something of note that the thumbnail did make a difference. But it depends on who you go to. Like, if you want those deep dives, you might go to people like Oculus, you might go to people like Baltimore. If you really want to go deep on a particular topic, you go to people like Remleiz. If you want a surface dive, you go somewhere like me. And I know there's many, many other people that I'm not naming.
I wouldn't call myself the deep dive. I'm the more weird and obscure shit that no one's ever fucking heard of kind of stuff.
Yeah, like you either...
Because not to blow my own trumpet, because I'm not that kind of guy, but like, generally speaking, how many people generally knew about the Angel before I did a video about it? And like, what the fuck's the Angel? You know, the precursor to Primarchs. The what? Kind of thing. Where the fuck that come from?
Yeah.
Oh, it's from this book. Like, I still actually have people saying, like, what book's this from, even though I say the book in the fucking video.
Yeah, people don't listen.
The book is called Death of an Angel, by the way. The clue is in the title.
No, it's really, really fascinating, just like how people get their information and what's taught versus what's studied versus what you have to learn yourself. And it's the same with if you want to learn about the different stories that you can watch the podcast and you get lore insight into different things. Sometimes we go on tangents and all of that. And it's just really weird. And you don't stop and think about it until you're actually an educator. You think, right, okay, if you want to learn something, where do you go? And who do you go to? And
to the library.
Well, yeah, you could, but most places don't have libraries anymore.
Wait, really?
Well, schools do, but they're not a lot of places have libraries because, politics, funding and all that. So anyway,
right.
But whatever the point is, if you want to learn something, who do you send people to? If I've got a student says, "Oh, I'm getting into Horus Heresy," who do I send them to? Who's the person that they should watch? What's the kind of thing they should be watching, and where's going to get them the best information, and what's going to be a suitable tone that I should be able to follow along, and they'll learn something, and all of these things. It's just really interesting. And if I were to have the time to go back to making lore videos properly, I would probably do them very differently to how I did. Like, I wrote good scripts. I like to think I wrote good scripts anyway. People will probably be disagreeing with me, but I wrote half-decent scripts. But now I'd probably completely rework how I did the video and have a lot more visual, a lot more reminders, maybe stop and actually let's explain what this actually means. Instead of it being like a third-person narration within universe about it, it would be a very different type of thing. It would be a lesson almost, like not a beginner's guide, but a lesson on Tau. How does it work? Put it together, do some diagrams, all that kind of thing. It's just different. Different.
Yeah. Well, that was surprisingly deep, wasn't it?
We do that. We do go on random.
We do that every now and again.
I mean, this whole episode has just been random tangents to nowhere. The episode.
I blame the heat and humidity. It's making my brain an absolute fug. As an SUG, as in it's in a fug, not as in it's, a fug who's going to,
Yeah, yes.
Anyway, since we didn't do so for last episode because of Quizcastus and all that, is there any questions, perchance?
Episode whoops.
I must have
Go away. Episode 150. Bram. Stop.
Sorry.
So Quizcastus doesn't have any questions on it. There's a couple dawdling around from 174, but most people knew not to ask a question because we were doing Quizcastus, and we told them as such that they weren't going to get their questions answered, so they didn't. But there was one, there's a couple actually that I did pick up, and more of a statement of, do you agree with the following statement? Perturabo is the CM Punk of Warhammer 40k.
I guess because he's old, he's tired, and he works with fucking children. That's Perturabo.
This commenter says, incredibly competent, but absolute petulant man-children who constantly complain and leave when they don't get their way. I could very easily see Pert saying, I'm old and tired and I work with fucking children before leaving the Siege of Terror.
That's pretty much what he did, because he didn't want to defer to Mortarion. He's like, fuck this shit.
Yeah,
I would agree with that wholeheartedly. I would agree.
Yeah, that's a good one. I wonder then, we did each wrestler's finisher the other day. I wonder if we can analogize anyone else while we're here. Sanguinius is your Kenny Omega. The angel, the one everybody loves, even though they've probably done some dark shit.
Yeah. And being a blonde pretty boy.
And that.
Horus would be your Roman Reigns.
Yeah, only became actually interesting when he became a bad guy.
Yeah.
And then it all fell apart around him.
Mortarion would be Bastian Booger, questionable hygiene and all that. Just generally disgusting.
Yeah.
Bastian Booger's probably before your time as well, isn't he?
Yes. Vulcan is the Undertaker. I know Kane has the fire, I'm aware, but the Undertaker just never fucking dies.
Yeah, that works, yeah. but then again, you could also go... Actually, you could have gone Keith Lee. Like, he looks very nice and very cuddly, but he could also destroy you in a heartbeat.
Yeah, but I don't see Vulcan doing gifs of rising up behind people and pouncing them. Well, actually, pouncing them into next week. I could see Vulcan doing that.
I can imagine Fulgrim being like John Morrison. Like
very flyy, never really wins. Attacks his supposed friends and brothers in a jealous rage.
And is a preening pretty boy, yeah.
Yeah.
That works.
Yeah. And we could keep going, but we'll be here all day.
We could keep going.
Yeah.
I'm actually inspired to do like a Twitter thread on this. Like, Primarch says wrestlers. Pert Rabo, CM Punk, because he's old time, works for fucking children.
Yeah. Absolutely. Is there another one? Oh, yeah. Here we go. There's one actually that you hearted, so you might recognise this question. Do you think Valdor is just sat in the wings somewhere waiting for the Custodes, or do you think he's actually dead?
Well, he's implied allegedly to still be alive as of the second Beckwin novel. I've not read it, so I can't confirm myself, but allegedly he's a character known as the Yellow King, who's basically been responsible for creating an army of blanks and winged blood angels and weird stuff like that. Apparently, again, I say apparently because I've not read the book, so I can't confirm either way, but to be honest, knowing Dan Abnett as a writer, he'd probably just turn around and say, by the way, it wasn't Alanius Pius who saved Horus, it wasn't Garvey Logan, no, it was Constantine Valdor and a time-travelling army of blanks and flying blood angels, and now Horus dies, the Emperor doesn't get put in the Golden Throne, history has changed, now we have Age of Emperor. And now I've made about 1 million people scream in the comments going, no. And someone's burning their Space Wolf army as we speak.
Probably. But no, in terms of questions, is there any... Oh, someone said Gilliman's finisher is the sharpshooter. Yeah, probably. And Mortarion should have had the stink face, for God's sake.
Nah, stink face is too flamboyant for Mortarion. Way too flamboyant.
Yeah, there's one here that's interesting. What would be a new type of aspect warrior or, well, maybe if not aspect warrior, troop type that the Eldar should get?
I tell you what they should get. They should get rules for the aspect warriors that were mentioned but never had rules. I think it was like the Umbral Claws and the Void Dragons.
Oh, yeah. I remember doing a video about the aspect warriors, and I've actually forgotten most of their...
It was Umbral... I wasn't sure if it's Umbral Claws. It was Umbral something.
There's the Ebon Talons. Hang on, I've lost the table. There's the Ebon Talons, the Slicing Orbs of Xandros, the Crystal Dragons, all of which are mentioned in this. This is just pulling off the wiki for the record.
It's the way you should use Lexicon. It's better sourced.
Well, yeah, that was the first one that came up. I'll go down to Lexicon now.
So it's Ebon Talons, it's not Umbral Claws. It's close enough.
The Crystal Dragons and the Ebon Talons.
Slicing Lords and the Ebon Talons. Yeah. Make them playable. Because they've already been mentioned. Just make them.
Yeah.
Or just make the Shadow Spectres plastic. Rather than Forge World resin.
That would be nice.
That would be nice. Because to be honest, outside of Forge World, I don't think anyone even knows that the Shadow Spectres even exist.
No, probably not.
Oh, you got the Eagle Pilots as well, but aren't the Eagle Pilots the same as Crimson Hunters?
No, because the Crimson Hunters have an unknown Phoenix Lord. And it's worth noting that the Crimson Hunters are specifically the Psychic Killer ones. Oh, no, the Interceptors. Sorry, not the Psychic Killers.
Eagle Pilots were only mentioned in one very, very old novel called Shadow Point. That was a Gothic War novel back in 2003. Jesus. Back in 2003, yeah. To put how old these two books are, Execution Hour and Shadow Point, they've not even been re-released as ebooks yet.
Bloody hell.
They were released in 2003, and that's it. They've never been re-released in ebook format, only a limited paperback format.
Yeah. Oh, the Hemlock Wraithfighter. That's the Psychic Death Flyer that I'd forgotten its name. I was getting them mixed up with the Crimson Hunters there.
Now you see one flying Eldar, you see them all.
Yeah, broadly. So no, I definitely agree. They've already got the lore there. Use them. Develop them.
It's there, take advantage of it. Absolutely. It's like with the whole Von Ryan's Leaper. That wasn't mentioned, offhand in the lore in 3rd edition, and now they've actually used that to make a new organism for the Nids.
Yeah, exactly.
If it's already there, take advantage of it. It's like, we need to come up with something new. Well, we mentioned this and didn't do anything with it. Fuck it, go for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something that will feel like less of an ass pull. Because sometimes when, like, obviously with Call and all of that, Call in the Primaris was an ass pull. It was fine, and we've all got used to it now. But do you remember? There's new Space Marines made with new gene seed. There's a mix for different Primarchs, and this random tech breed has come out of nowhere. He's been making them for 10,000 years. No bullshit.
Because the closest thing we ever had to that being referenced beforehand, the closest thing we ever had was the Raptor project in the Deliverance Lost novel, and that was that. And even then, that's still disputed. It was never explicitly linked. It was just like some sort of implication because one of these new Raptor Marines was, bigger than, a veteran. But that's pretty much one of the few things we actually have. But
yeah, one of the things if they
made it more explicitly tied to that, then I think less people would have been pissed off because it's referencing that old Horus Heresy novel. Oh, okay, makes sense.
Yeah. Or you know what they should have done is if they knew they wanted to make newer, bigger Space Marines, what they should have done is rushed out Gilliman's Primarch novel and used that to set it up. Sort of like have it be set sort of during the days of, when Gilliman doesn't know about Imperiums, whether the Imperium's alive. Have it set before Unremembered Empire, before Sanguinius and Johnson arrive and they bring it together. Gilliman is alone. He has no idea if his dad's alive. He has no idea if the Imperium's alive. And he's gone into contingency planning mode. So he summons Belisarius Call, this rogue tech priest who has been innovating with has been tinkering with Astartes biology, or has been curious about, but always forbidden from studying Astartes biology. He says, here's some gene seed, go have a dig, and then have the epilogue be him reporting back saying, I think I found something, or I've got something to show you, or whatever. That sets up that actually 10,000 years ago, when Gilliman thought the Imperium was gone and that he was alone, he went into panic/planning mode and wanted better Marines to bulk up when he knew his father might not be there to give him more. So he started innovating and thinking, and he got Call on side. Or you could have Unremembered Empire do exactly the same thing and have them argue about it. Have Sanguinius, Gilliman, and Johnson argue about, is it okay to mess with Father's work? Well, Father might not even be here. We might be all that's left. We need this new... we need to see what we can really do. Or something. Or even use Deliverance Lost and have Call show up in the post-credits and be like, this is interesting.
Or alternatively...
Store the data.
Alternatively, you could do what Games Workshop did with Iliad and drop hints towards it, because obviously, Quinn, something new like, the Primarchs is being designed, from a real-world standpoint. It's going to be, in the works for at least a year before the public even sees it. Drop hints. Because, do you remember, in the older, I think it first appeared in, the 4th edition Eldar Codex, they started dropping hints towards Iliad.
Yeah.
So just drop hints in previous editions, and then when it comes up, people go, oh, was that thing that was mentioned last edition in the Codex? Oh, shit, kind of thing.
Yeah. What if they had said that the Minotaurs were the test run for Primaris Marines because they were always bigger?
Or the Sons of Antaeus, rather.
Or whoever. Sorry. But whoever it was, Asterion Moloch was a Primaris Marine, but he was a first test run that was a bad batch, and he was the only survivor. And just retcon that back in, saying he's always been weird, he's never quite got it, and he's taken a long time to adjust, but he is absolutely peerless, and he appeared out of nowhere. Just set something up, plant a seed. And it's something that I really appreciate with something that Sigmar does, because they did this a little bit. We know it's in the Daughters of Cain battle tome from 2017-18 that Malerians elves exist and they don't necessarily get on with everybody.
Yeah, because wasn't there a thing with those elves?
Excuse me.
Games Workshop actually inadvertently dropped the name of the faction, then they deleted all trace of it, but people already knew it
Yes,
was.
they did.
With the Umbranef, wasn't it?
Something like that, yeah. And they've made reference to Malerian's elves here and there. And we've seen that artwork of Malerian. They've set that up, meaning that when they show up and they're shadow demons, it will make sense. And I know AOS is playing with it can make whatever the fuck it wants because it's a new universe canon. But they set that up. 40k can do the same thing. Like, one thing that I do really appreciate, and I mentioned this before, is that the Tyranids are the follow-up to the Silent King. The Silent King said he was going to go and find something about the Tyranids. He's now come back
and has done absolutely nothing.
He's done nothing, but he's attempted to do shit, and now the Tyranids are coming in force, meaning that clearly the Silent King and the Tyranids, there's a link there. They've used that as a setup. They didn't set it up very well, but they did set up Silent King leading to Tyranids. There was an attempt, indeed. And if they're wanting, like, to use something else, if they want the Psychic Awakening to go somewhere, which they really should, then have that come back around. Maybe now have the Shadow in the Warp be that they were drawn, like this Hive Fleet that have been coming for a long time, suddenly accelerated or went round because of the Psychic Awakening, which had been triggered by this Shadow in the Warp way out, triggering it. Set it up, pay it off.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's something that you and I as wrestling fans know very well. Long-term storytelling, setup, hint, twist, payoff is far more satisfying storytelling, even if it only takes a year or a few months or a few weeks even, versus ass-pull bullshit resolution.
It was a swerve, bro. Don't
exactly.
Russo it, essentially. Don't Russo it.
Exactly. And like even Gilliman coming back, the fact that we knew Gilliman was apparently slowly healing in stasis, that had been set up. God, when was that? Like years ago.
Third edition, I think it was.
Third. And yeah, they needed to use techno magic and literal magic to make it stick. But they always had in the back of their mind, yeah, Gilliman is probably going to be the one. If any is going to come back, Gilliman will heal, or Russ will return, or Lion will wake up from his nap.
It was either going to be Gilliman or Lion, because Gilliman, right, we know who he is. He's in a stasis shrine on McCrag. You know, we know where he is, and it's implied he's healing. Lionel Johnson, he's in the deepest reaches of the rock, and he's confirmed to be alive. So it's always going to be one of them two.
Yeah, exactly. And what I think they need to do now is, if they're ever going to bring a Loyalist Primarch back again,
don't.
They need to start setting it up. Because Russ coming back, or either as himself or as a Wolfen or whatever, because I think Russ is next. If they're going to do anyone, it's going to be Russ.
I disagree. I think if anyone's next, it's going to be Jagatai, purely because it has kind of already been hinted at. Because in Ashes of Prospero, you know, with Niall Stormcaller, he had the visions. And he had the vision of the Sleeper entombed in rock, Lionel Johnson, and the vision of a white giant in a chariot of lightning.
True.
So you could use it and say, oh, that's a reference to Jagatai Khan. You know, white giant, he was a giant, Primarch. You know, white armor, white scars. Chariot of lightning, you know, he liked to ride a bike, and lightning, you know, symbol was a lightning bolt.
Yeah, see it. But
so
yeah,
if they're going to bring him back,
things.
but he would make the most sense purely because that he has already been hinted at. So,
and we know he's alive. Russ just disappeared. Jagatai also disappeared.
It's implied he's alive. He disappeared in the webway, but that was it. Nothing confirmed. Again, before his return, the only one confirmed to be alive was Lion.
True. Well, I agree. Setup, payoff. It's not that complex to do setup, payoff. And I know it's something that does require planning, and people will work it out. And I think there's something that GW have been scared of in the past is people working out the story before they tell it. But that's a mark of good storytelling. If you know where the story is going and you can build a story out of what you've been, all the crumbs you've been fed, good. That means you've told a good story with a coherent narrative that will then lead to a logical conclusion, unless you've got sneaky bullshit in there, and that's fine. You don't know how you're going to get there, but you know where you're going to end up. And that's really, really powerful, that you know where your story is going to end.
I know some people complain about some stories being, you know, too predictable, but sometimes predictable is not a bad thing. Sometimes it's not. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not always a good thing if it's predictable, but sometimes a little bit of predictability is welcome now and again.
Yeah.
Like, Like, for example, like, if, like, in wrestling terms, for example, like, if you're hoping that, I hope this person doesn't lose a match to this guy, and because, like, say, for example, I don't know, Bryan Danielson against Barry Horowitz. Barry Horowitz is not going to win the title of fucking Bryan Danielson. So that's brilliant for things, and you don't want him to win, but at the same time, you could also use the predictability to subvert expectations in a way as well.
Again, see, for using that example, Daniel Bryan, the Elimination Chamber 2021 with Kofi Kingston.
Yeah. Or to quite a more recent example, Alex Shelley winning the Impact title literally at the last pay-per-view. Because no one expected Alex Shelley to beat Steve Macklin, but he fucking did. And it's like, fucking hell. Well done, Shelley.
Yeah.
Our boy won the big one.
Yeah.
God, I was so happy when Alex Shelley won the title. And I was like, yes, the Impact original did it.
Yeah. You can do expectation subversion, but like, even something as simple, like, again, using a modern example, and I think we're going here now with, I'll come back to 40K, is like, obviously, we knew that the Silent King and Gilliman coming face to face would only end one way and it would be bad. So they've kept them apart. And we know that the Tyranids are not going to eat Terror, obviously. But what's interesting is how close they're going to get. And how bad is Gilliman going to have to become? How tyrannical, how sacrificial, how callous is Gilliman have to be? And can he now start to see why his father was such a monster, arguably, in having to do the things he has to do? Will it lead to Cryptman-level tactics in order to stop it? And what that does to the character is arguably more interesting than the payoff, because the payoff is the Tyranids lose, lol, because otherwise the universe fucking dies. But you can also play with the subversion of like, well, we know what the story is, but how close are they going to push it? How hard are they going to make you believe that Sami Zayn is going to pin Roman Reigns in Montreal? How hard are you going to get invested in that story? Even though you know you're investing in a false hope, how invested are you going to get?
Man, Sami should have won.
Yeah, but to bring it back to the original point, knowing where the story ends is not a problem as long as you don't show every single step of the way there. And by the same token, laying out the crumbs of a story or a plot line or a character's return is fine as long as the payoff fits with the story you've set up. It doesn't have to be predictable, but it does have to fit with what you set up. And so that if you looked back at it, you go, oh, I can see what they were doing now. I know we all thought it was going to go this way, but it went that way, and I can see it. That's the challenge.
Yeah, agreed. Any other questions?
Oh, yeah. No.
No. Bloody hell. Well, it looks like it's going to be a bit of a shorter episode this week, so we apologise for that. But
that's all right. Is there anything that you've actually had time to start reading that's worth discussing at this time?
Not at this point in time, no, I'm afraid.
No, that's fair.
Again, we probably would have lasted much longer if it wasn't for our guest cancelled last minute, but we can't really hold that against them, so...
No, and at the same time, it's been nice to just talk. Like, I feel like sometimes when we get into the rhythm of the podcast, like, we've got loads of news to discuss, we've got a story to discuss, we do questions, and yeah, we have tangents, but we don't just talk, you and I, sometimes. I feel like we do this...
I get what you mean, yeah.
Like, yeah, we do this so often, and we've got so many things that we usually have to get through that we don't have the space and the time to just stop and talk. And like all that stuff earlier about White Dwarf and all the random places we went and all the discussions, it just felt nice to just ramble. I know it's something that you're talking for 2 hours at a time. Of course you're going to be rambling, you go on tangents, but we had a last minute cancellation. Again, no issue with that. We came up with no plan. There was no news, no plan. So we had to just
play it by ear.
Play it by ear, exactly. And we just got to sit down and talk, which we don't get to do because we're always so busy. Just getting to reminisce or theorize or talk and just have a conversation because we don't get time to do it. And it's nice to actually just do that. And I'll be curious to see what the comments think of this episode in terms of, do they prefer us to just sit and have a chat with a couple of loose points to stitch it together, or is the more regimented structure of we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, more what you come to listen to? Do you come for the routine and looking at new books? Do you come for asking and answering questions, or do you just come to listen to us talk about something that we're passionate about? It's just
maybe both.
And all the other things we are interested in. So, yeah.
So, yeah.
Just interesting.
Let us know what you all think in the comment section down below. So, given the time, we may as well end it here. So, thank you very much to everyone who joined in for this shorter edition of Adeptus Podcastus. Regardless of it being shorter, we hope you still enjoyed it. And until next time, hopefully it won't be anywhere near as damn bloody humid, so I won't be sweating here like a goddamn whatever sweaty thing. I don't know what I won't be sweating as much as Shane McMahon. There you go. Anyway, until next time, this has been Remleiz from 40k Theories.
And this has been Neve from Tactica Imperialis.
And we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.